how did you get into the stock market?
So I grew up 2 childhoods. My first childhood, my father was in the Army.
Right.
It was beautiful. These Army bases, man, around the world. We lived in, I was born in New York. We lived in Pittsburgh, then San Antonio, then Germany, back to Pittsburgh, then Japan, Texas, Alabama, North Carolina, Virginia. And, it was just an amazing life. It was a bubble. It was a bubble. 60s and early 70s, all the hysteria, all the things that were going on Main Street, the protest, we missed all of it. My first best friend was a white guy. My first girlfriend was white, but it didn't matter.
No, it doesn't really matter. I grew up in California. Nobody dates who they look like.
Right. But I'm saying we were in this bubble.
Yes.
And it was also, it was a social economic bubble, right? So we go outside, we get on our bikes, we ride our bikes all day long, play, come in the house, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, go back out. Then one day I came home from school and my mom said, we're leaving. So me, my mom, and my 2 younger brothers, we left Fort Lee, Virginia, 2-story house. I had my own room. My brothers shared a room, but it was huge. We had a guest room, den, the Brady Bunch staircase. I mean, it was just a wonderful, wonderful life. And we left my father with no money. We got on a bus, and we were from there to Harlem. This is in the early 70s, when Harlem was like still the poorest, most dangerous area in America. And all 4 of us lived in a room. And I got to tell you, it was beyond culture shock. Now, there were some beautiful things, like getting there, the first ride on the train,
right,
walking out the train, my man, and the energy, and the music, right? Music coming out of windows, music coming out of cars, music coming out of boom boxes, right? And I'm hearing like Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, like
stuff that you never heard.
Yeah, I'm like, I was listen, I loved the stuff I was listening to, right? Like Philadelphia Freedom was cool, but when I heard Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, like, so the energy, first day walking down the street, these girls double dutching. So that was the positive part, right? The energy was in the creativity. It was amazing. But the hard part was the violence and the poverty. Violence, like you just can't imagine. They see it now. You see a lot of the stuff on videos, and people are like, it's shocked.
It wasn't camera phones back then.
Right. But people are shocked. That happens? Yeah. In my school in Harlem, there was at least 3 fights a day, minimum.
Yep.
Minimum. And I'm talking fights to the death over anything. It was a fight to the death. My biggest fight, I had a fight with a guy for almost an hour. We covered 3 blocks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the hell happened. And so anyway, I'm the oldest, and we are poor. Remember, we traveled all over the world. Every time we moved into a new house, it was freshly painted. You went to take a shower. The thing that said H had hot water. The thing that said C had cold. We had no hot water our first winter in New York.
Wow.
No hot water. So now I'm like, I never thought about money a single day in my life. I said, I got to do something to help my mom. And I hustled. I got the paper towels and the Windex. I used to clean windows at stoplights, shovel snow. I got a job at a bodega. And then eventually, like anybody, I equated money with Wall Street. And so I started getting the Wall Street Journal.
How old were you when you got the Wall Street Journal?
13.
13.
Yeah. I stole it. I had to steal it.
Okay,
But it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Because, you go to the newsstand back in the day, this part had the candy. Mm-hmm. Now, when I walked over there, I told people, what's up? What do you need? What do you want?
They're going to watch that candy.
Right. As I strolled away, no one thought I wanted the Wall Street.
Brother was stealing the Wall Street Journal. I got to be honest with you. I'm telling you, I'll be sitting right there in that booth like, don't worry about the Wall Street Journal. Or Home and Gardens.
So getting the journal was easy, right? Learning how to read it was hard.
Yeah.
Because it was back then, it was just mostly like, it was a business public. Like now they have all these kind of articles in there and make it easy to read, more mainstream. But this was just lines and numbers.
It was just facts. Just
lines and numbers. So it's like, oh my God. So I would get them, I would compare them, and it's like, so it took me a while, but then I started kind of picking up on it, And finally I started reading that. I would start reading some articles. And then when I was 14, I said, I'm going to work on Wall Street. So, I called up my father. I said, Daddy, I'm going to work on Wall Street. He said, man, I saw it on TV. A bunch of white guys throwing paper in the air. Ain't no brothers down there.
Yeah.
So the only person who believed in me was my mom. I kept hustling. I bought my first mutual fund when I was 17. She had to co-sign because I was too young.
It takes a tremendous amount of not just perseverance, to intellect, conviction, to go after something that there's probably nobody in your radar, friends, peers, with the exception of mother, who are like, yeah, that's a good, because it's a fear of it. That's not for us.
Right.
And But no one ever told us that. We just assumed that.
Right.
The biggest thing is just is you start building your own box.
Yeah.
And then when you have someone who's stepping out the box and because it could have very easily been, you could be using those numbers to think how many bags of heroin you can cut up, or the smack you could sell because it was there. Unfortunately, it was there. I think it was worse in the East Coast because everybody was in these little towns. California, where I grew up, it was spread out. We had a drug problem too, but you kind of neighborhoods could kind of get away from it a little bit because you weren't on top of each other as much. And certain, whereas when you're in New York, it's like the Stoops. It's just like you said, the energy, music, you're encompassed. You see everything within a few weeks. You got a layout of the land. You know who's doing this, who's doing that. And a smart kid who is motivated to buy mom the sports car and the home easily could be caught up on that short road. Myself, my buddies would be like, hey, we could drive trucks for this guy to Atlanta and he'll pay us $10,000, and like, you don't need a driver's license. Just, if you get caught, you just take the rap. No, How did you navigate that? Because it had to be because you're a smart kid. Yeah. You're going to stand out.
You know what helped me a lot, because we got beat up a lot when we first moved there. We sounded like white kids. We wore the wrong clothes, and I one of the first things that shocked me was associating good and smart with white.
Yes,
and that to this day hurts me.
I used to hate hearing he's so well spoken.
Right. Or like, you're in school and social studies is my favorite topic. We take the test to get 100, and the other kids are saying, "Oh, you think you white? What does white have to do with trying to, I love the subject,
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to have grown up enough outside of Harlem that I already my third grade teacher, math teacher. And I always wish I remembered her name. She used to do this thing where she'd have two kids stand up at one time, and she'd ask a question. Whoever got it right stayed, And
I remember that game. Yeah. You had teams.
And I used to go through the whole class. I would, Bobby, you stand up. Here's the question. I get it. Tim, you stand up. Susie. And so she was moving. She was leaving. And she said, Charles, can you stand up? She says, you're the best student I ever had. I had another teacher, Mrs. Flood. I had a speech impediment growing up. And we used to have to read out loud. And so we had a parent-teacher conference. I was so nervous because I would substitute a word, but I was intimidated by it. So I'm eavesdropping, and she tells my mother, Charles is one of the most brilliant students I've ever had because he's reading out loud. He knows he can't pronounce a word, but he'll substitute it without missing a beat. I thought it was a bad thing. She saw it as a positive.
Yeah. Well, I had that with dyslexia. I would do that.
I'm a little dyslexic.
Yeah. I'd be like, this condescending. To this day, if I see condescending, negative. Like I just flip it because I'll be I'm gonna be here. Oh shit, I'm gonna be here a while. And it would be when I was a kid though. It would be like the big giant and I couldn't. I said biscuit wrong, so I'd be like bread. You think you're so because it's not the teacher you're worried about. It's them some bitches you play with at research that was going. He can't say chrysanthemum. It was some flower I couldn't,
Man, my word was mother. So finally, my mom and my two brothers, at night they would grill me on my mother.
Yeah.
Finally, I said mother. Ah!
And they would,
So, but the point is that I already kind of knew the world. I've been outside of Harlem. I saw the world. I knew that a thirst for knowledge wasn't being white. I knew getting A's wasn't being white. I knew speaking proper English wasn't being white. So I didn't have that disadvantage because it's a self-fulfilling thing. And it's the most negative thing. Of all the things you talk about that could save the black community or help the black community, it begins within.
Exactly, because there wasn't an evil white person with a ruler going, you can't learn math, boy. Right. Like, we don't want you smart. And I used to get the same thing. I get, you're light skinned, so you can get a better job, right. Or they'll say that shit or whatever. But I don't know though. He's big though,
right?
Like he's not pretty.
Right.
If you wasted being light skinned because they'd still put your big ass in the field because and I'd be like, thanks, grandma.
Right.
Yeah, I'm ready to go take on the world now.
Yeah.
But they would equate such thing, and I would always hear that. And it used to drive me insane. They would say, I would always hear that, like, nah, man, like, why are you trying to act white?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to do this? But it never came from white people.
Right.
It came from unhappy, afraid brothers on our own, our own thing, because I think it was a coping Instead of saying like, listen, I'm not doing what I need to do. It's so much easier to say that I'm not even allowed to play in the game.
Right.
And I feel like that mentality was such a big thing. More so in you coming
But I would
up.
also add to it too, though, that, and this is where I have a problem. Like, I don't understand how people vote the way they vote, because having gone to these different schools, I could see immediately that the curriculum that they were giving the kids in Harlem was watered down. It was, they were grades behind, and it was pretty clear that it was a system designed to keep you down. Like you come home, like they give these kids like, inflated grade, and you're doing great, and then wonder why at 12th grade you still had a 7th grade reading level, because the schools were conspired to make sure that the kids in these neighborhoods didn't learn anything substantial.
Yeah,
and if you weren't willing to learn on your own, if your parents didn't have, like, we had encyclopedias. We had, like, my favorite thing was the Guinness Books of Records.
Oh, yeah.
I've always loved factual stuff.
No, because I used to try.
I was going for the hot dog one, man, because
Yeah,
back in the day, I could knock out about 50, but
I think I passed out trying to hold my breath for 3.5 minutes or something. Like, me and my brother were in the bathtub we got to break this record.
Yeah.
And the only thing we were allowed to do that wouldn't end up with us getting a whooping was holding our breath underwater. Because I tried the one where I think it was you had to eat, I forget how many loaves of bread. It was some bread thing, how many pieces of bread, the Guinness Book. Man, that whooping, I still think about it, because I just ate all the Wonder Bread in the house, and I was trying, it's for, and it was just,
Yeah.
you know how much that cost?
Yeah.
So I always, never actually did accomplish, well, I guess I did, I'd be in the book, but it's funny that you don't hear anyone talk about that stuff.
yeah.
How much was, obviously if you like the stock market and you like math and stuff and social studies, because history was my favorite thing. Also, I realized that the answers are in the book, so all I got to do is read this one class I don't have to worry about.
Right.
But I ended up being obsessed with history, and I would write my little my little books and papers and stuff, and I remember spending hours sourcing through my Encyclopedia Britannicas, and the biggest thing is if you lost one of them, because then you couldn't just get one.
Right.
You had to get a whole new set, but those things you weren't even allowed to take them out of the house. They were like,
Oh, no.
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 That was was the Bible, and there was the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah.
That don't come out the house, and you don't loan it. Can't no friend bother. Nope, get your own book on Mount Fuji. Like, we just would not have it.
And we had the big gold adult ones and the smaller red kids ones. So I was good to go, man. I was like, and I just never stopped. I've always had a thirst for learning. Every single day I try to learn something new. Every single day.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you just saw, don't stop there. You can catch the full conversations right here, only on Planet Tyrus. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And you don't want to miss what's next. I'm telling you, bad things will happen. Oh, I'm just playing. Nothing bad's going to happen, but I won't be your friend.